Back pain promises exposed.
This guy's either deluded himself or he's a crook.
Putting a high-tech, high-priced back treatment to the test.
It looks like something straight out of Batman.
Hidden dangers you need to know about.
It's literally pancaked.
It's totally crushed.
An American crackdown.
I was lied to. I was injured.
That claim was junk science.
In Canada,
people come here because they're vulnerable, they're in pain, they're desperate for relief, and they're willing to shell out thousands of dollars.
And later on Marketplace,
would you come and give me your reaction to this ad? It's for Lysol.
Check out that seal. Sure looks pretty impressive. What does that say to you when you see that?
Well, it would indicate to me that it's been looked at by professionals, scientists, doctors.
That's tonight on Marketplace. Get what you need to know right now.
we're taking a revealing look at a new treatment for back pain. It's called non-surgical spinal decompression therapy. We're putting its claims to the test.
Find out more about this spinal decompression.
It's heavily marketed
Science of spinal decompression.
and expensive. Costs up to $5,000. But does it really work? To find out, we're taking you inside the Low Back Clinic, one of Canada's largest chains.
I'm Dr. Richard Lim, founder of the Low Back Clinic.
Richard Lim is the leading chiropractor behind these treatments.
Call to book your free consultation at your nearest Low Back Clinic.
We want to know why so many Canadians are paying big bucks to get on this table.
This will rise up. I'll show you again.
All of Lim's clinics use this machine called the DRX 9000.
We're quite a busy clinic. We have clinics now in Winnipeg, Halifax, all over Ontario.
The machine can pull on you with over 100 pounds of force. Low Back Clinic says that pull separates your vertebrae so discs can be restored. And some people, like Bruce Holland, swear by it.
I think it was about 3 or 4 treatments and I was starting to feel relief right away.
The DRX 9000 is licensed by Health Canada to pull on your back for pain relief, similar to what these lower-tech, much cheaper traction tables do. But at the Low Back Clinic, treatments come with some impressive claims.
Has almost a 90% success rate, is painless, and has no side effects. You not only remove your symptoms, but you prevent them from ever coming back.
Sounds like a miracle treatment.
It is very effective.
So, lots of money, lots of interest, but also lots of concern. In Toronto at Sunnybrook Hospital, we catch up with back surgeon Michael Ford. His patient was treated at Lim's Low Back Clinic, and he says the machine fractured her vertebrae.
And you can see that this vertebral body here is literally pancaked.
Holy cow.
It's only about 1/3 of its normal height.
It's completely squashed.
Yes, it is.
Could that have happened on the decompression table?
By history, it did. I mean, she felt it crack and she felt a severe increase in pain.
Ford's patient doesn't want to go on camera. Turns out she had spinal cancer, which weakened her vertebrae.
It was a misdiagnosis right from the start.
Ford says the Low Back Clinic missed obvious warning signs that her pain was unusual.
This was someone who was very physically fit and conditioned and young, and so presenting with terrible, awful, progressive back pain just didn't fit. And she was describing something that should have raised some red flags and should have initiated more in the way of investigation.
So in your opinion, she should not have been on that bed?
No.
Not at all?
No.
The Low Back Clinic claims it does a thorough examination of potential customers.
We do a comprehensive examination where we assess people's MRIs, X-rays, CT scans, do full orthopedic neurological assessment to determine that they are good candidates for care.
So, do they do a thorough examination? That's our first test. To find out, we need some help.
This is from when I was on Mount Kilimanjaro. That was I guess, the height of physical activity, Steve, over there.
Stephen Sodders is 24 years old with a disc herniation in his lower back, in pain for over a year.
You know, at first I was skeptical, but now it's like, well, nothing else is working, so where else do I turn?
But before Stephen steps into the Low Back Clinic, we need to see what a good back exam looks like. So we get him checked out by one of Canada's leading back doctors, spinal surgeon Hamilton Hall.
I'm going to start just by having you turn your back to me. I just want to look at it. Now I'm going to ask you to bend down and try and touch your toes.
After half an hour of twists and turns, he takes a careful look at Stephen's MRI report. His back sure looks bad on paper.
So, looking at this and saying, oh, this is an L5S1 with a pinched nerve.
But you can't just rely on an MRI.
And there's one.
After some hands-on tests, a surprising diagnosis. Stephen's back is starting to get better on its own.
You have made a recovery. You are making a recovery. You need to press up.
Yep, simple exercises should do the trick for Stephen. Now on hidden camera, let's see what the low back clinic will tell him. Stephen brings his MRI and x-rays for his assessment.
Okay, so it's low back pain.
The chiropractor looks at them, but there's no physical exam at all. And what's he told? Only one thing will help him.
To correct, you need decompression. You can do it surgically, or you can do it therapeutically. We do it therapeutically.
They're ready to sign him up.
I already know you're a good candidate. Let me know roughly when you're thinking about wanting to start, and what time of day you need, because I'm fully booked.
That was their thorough assessment?
Yeah, we'll be in touch. Thanks for meeting with me.
Stephen's stunned.
There was no like, if we're gonna feel around here, let me see if what I see corresponds to the MRI report or even the x-rays, and there was none of that. She just went kind of immediately into, okay, this is the only treatment for you.
Would that concern you to know that someone was told that they are a perfect candidate even though they hadn't received a physical examination?
I can't imagine that ever happening.
Well, we've just told you about a man who came in and he looked at somebody on your staff, looked at his MRI, did not do a physical examination and said, you're good for this treatment.
We take quality of our patient care very, very seriously. If that is the case, we'll take immediate and swift action.
Across the country, decompression treatment boasts an almost 90% success rate, just like at the low back clinic.
And your success rate?
We have an 86% success rate, a very high success rate.
Excellent. Lowbackclinic.com.
Time for our second test. Does the DRX 9000 really have such a high success rate? To find out, we show Dr. Hamilton Hall that claim.
There's almost a 90% success rate. You not only remove your symptoms, but you prevent them from ever coming back.
It's not possible? There's a 90% success rate?
No. And they'd never prevent them from ever coming back? That's a lie. Now, either he believes this, in which case he's mentally weak, or he's a liar. He's a crook. He's out to scam you.
Ouch! Hall's outraged because he's looked at the studies backing up the treatment's success rate.
They're making claims that are not supported. The one study that you've shown me that has an actual literature review says it doesn't work. Everything else here are case reports, anecdotes. My Aunt Sally told me she liked it, and that's not science, but it's good marketing.
Those studies are posted on the Low Back Clinic's website. And get this.
I know that the natural history is that 86%, 80%-ish get better anyways.
With no treatment at all.
With no treatment at all, just time.
You heard that right. The naked truth, 80% of back injuries heal themselves.
If there was magic out there that would cure my patients so simply, so easily, so permanently, I would be part of it.
Do you think it's giving people false hope?
Yes, absolutely it is.
Across the border in Portland, Oregon, the Attorney General's office has also investigated the science behind the sales pitch.
Good afternoon, the Department of Justice.
David Hart's in charge of consumer health fraud. That high success rate for the decompression table?
The study that was presented to support that claim was junk science. It wasn't worth the paper it was written on.
So now in Oregon, the Attorney General's got your back. Axiom, the company that makes the DRX 9000, can't claim an almost 90% success rate. And authorities have cracked down in Florida and California too.
As regulators, as law enforcement, we have to be particularly concerned when vulnerable populations are targeted.
Does it not concern you that the Oregon's Attorney General's office has determined that it's just junk science?
Not when we have the success. Our results with our patients have a very high success rate, between 86 and 89% success rate.
People come here because they're vulnerable, they're in pain, they're desperate for relief, and they're willing to shell out thousands of dollars. Should you not have some scientific evidence that this treatment will help them?
We have the patients that have proved it themselves.
Lim gives this DVD to new patients, full of glowing news reports.
He says lying here has made the pain of 2 herniated discs in his back just about disappear.
It was like instant relief. It was like it stretches you.
We tracked down Arden Tatry in St. Catharines, Ontario.
I get up like this.
A year later, did spinal decompression offer a permanent fix?
And I've only taken 1 day off work. I haven't missed any time, so it must be working.
We dig deeper into Arden's backstory.
A lot of these were given me by Dr. Lean.
He exercises every morning.
I'm not going to take it for granted anymore. And working out for half an hour, 45 minutes every day is good for you and good for my back.
He also lost weight.
I lost 25 to 30 pounds in a matter of 6 weeks.
So, was it the almost $5,000 decompression treatments that helped? The exercise? The weight loss? Or could he be one of the 80% whose back gets better on its own?
Given all the evidence we have about back pain, exercise and weight loss have had a very solid track record. Traction has not. Simple testimonials without proof just don't cut it.
We have patients literally coming from around the world for our treatments. Kenya, Philippines, India. We have a high success rate.
If the success rate is so high, why is there no scientific evidence to back it up?
Our success rate is based on a number of things, but mostly you have to understand we do a very thorough examination.
You just said people fly here from Kenya. Shouldn't you be able to say, look, here is this credible scientific study, it's peer-reviewed. You don't just say, oh, Joe just left here and he had a great experience.
If the results are there, we have developed a protocol that creates great results.
Time to test another claim that the DRX 9000 is based on space technology. On hidden camera,
the company who built the machine is called Axiom. Researchers for Axiom are ex-NASA boys, and they realized that under zero gravity, disc herniation's reduced.
And online,
our spinal decompression treatments mimic that zero gravity environment to restore the disc back to health.
He says that their technology is based on zero gravity and how that's good for the spine.
It's actually not good for the spine, it just changes the spine. The astronauts do not have total loss of back pain, and some of them actually develop back pain after they've been in space.
Is there a study you read that shows space travel is good for the back?
You know what? Space travel and all that sort of stuff, that's not my thing.
No surprise, in Oregon, David Hart has shut down that space age claim too.
Claiming that this was a NASA discovery would be misleading and deceptive.
When we come back, growing concerns.
I'm trying to answer your question.
You're not telling me. Has no one ever been harmed on this table?
And a class action lawsuit is in the works.
I wasn't able to do anything that I used to do.
Later on Marketplace, do Canadian pediatricians really endorse Lysol?
We're investigating a popular, expensive treatment for back pain. It's marketed as painless, no side effects. Not just at the Low Back Clinic, others also promise pain-free treatments, no side effects. So, we test that claim.
So this whole area is tight in spasms sometimes?
And when I was on the machine, it was all the way down my back.
In Vancouver, at a different back clinic, Lonnie Gould trusted her chiropractor to treat her with the DRX 9000.
There's 3 days there where I could hardly walk.
You couldn't even stand up.
I should have gone to emergency, and they talked me out of it.
What did they
just
say?
said, keep putting ice on it.
She says the force of the machine's pull made her pain much worse. And a year later, it's still bad.
Now it's to the point where I can't help with the care of an elderly parent.
That must be hard.
It is really hard. It's hard on our whole family, you know.
In Oregon, we find Christina Lopez, also lured in by her chiropractor's promises about the DRX 9000. She now needs weekly physiotherapy.
Good. Let's do 5. And how's that feel? That's deep enough.
She says the decompression treatments made her disc herniations worse.
I was lied to. I was injured. I spent an enormous amount of money on the treatment and then a huge amount of money on medical bills.
Christina's planning a class action lawsuit with other patients who were harmed on the DRX 9000.
From this treatment, I've had to get MRIs, see specialists. I wasn't able to do anything that I used to do.
Christina says she was told to fight through the pain.
They said you'll feel worse before you feel better, is what I was told.
Dr. Ford says that's what happened to his patient in Toronto at the low back clinic. And he says pushing through pain is dangerous advice.
I would never tell the patient that, an increase in pain is a good thing. I would consider that a failure of treatment, quite frankly.
On your website, you say this treatment is painless. Is it painless?
It's virtually painless.
Have you had any patients who were harmed on this bed?
We monitor the patient very closely to ensure the patient has a full and has a high probability of recovery.
But is that a yes or a no?
That's what I'm trying to answer your question.
You're not telling me. Has no one ever been harmed on this table?
You can have discomfort under the treatment.
Remember that woman with the fractured vertebrae? Dr. Michael Ford wrote chiropractor Richard Lim a letter saying her symptoms should have been a red flag.
Did you ever hear back from him?
No.
Nothing?
No.
Are you surprised by that?
Yes.
There's her healthy
We
vertebrae.
show Lim that patient's fractured vertebrae.
It turns out she actually had lymphoma around the spine and there were other issues going on in her back. Putting her on this table, the surgeon says, caused this vertebrae to fracture.
We see patients evolve varying levels of pain and things of that nature.
This patient came to you because she was looking for relief and she trusted you. The
Again,
surgeon says this person should never have been put on this table.
I remember this patient, and obviously since then we take steps to avoid things like that.
We dig up another complaint about Lim, this one made to the College of Chiropractors of Ontario. The patient describes excruciating pain after the treatments. The college reviewed Lim's marketing and says he should be careful. His claims could be perceived to be misleading patients.
Your own college is concerned about the false claims you're making, and yet you continue to make them.
We have a very high success rate here at our clinic. In addition, Health Canada approved and licensed this treatment.
So, how did those claims make their way into Canada? Through Freedom of Information, we get a copy of what Axiom, the maker of the DRX 9000, submitted to Health Canada. Sure enough, the company included brochures with that unproven success rate. After we tell Health Canada what our investigations revealed, they tell us they will now be reviewing the claims made about the DRX 9000. And remember Stephen? He's been doing those exercises and feeling good about saving almost $5,000 on unproven decompression treatments.
Up next, Busted.
Even if no one in your family is sick, millions of viruses and bacteria are still spreading through your home.
With all the flu scares lately, ads like these ones have been getting major play.
Help stop the spread of germs with Lysol disinfectant spray.
Sounds good. And then, the clincher.
Lysol is the #1 brand of disinfectant used by Canadian pediatricians at home.
So, is that an official endorsement from Canadian pediatricians?
Want to see our ad? Would you come and give me your reaction to this ad? It's for Lysol.
Check out that seal. Sure looks pretty impressive.
What does that say to you when you see that?
Well, it would indicate to me that it's been looked at by professionals, scientists, doctors.
That it's recommended by the medical communities.
I think that is an endorsement.
Recommended by pediatricians?
Yeah, Canadian Pediatrics Association is on board with this stuff.
Here's what we really want to know. Do Canadian pediatricians really endorse Lysol? Dr. Robin Walker is the point person for the Canadian Pediatric Society on environmental issues like commercial disinfectants.
Lysol is the #1 brand of disinfectant used by Canadian pediatricians at home.
And he's not the only pediatrician shaking his head. He says he's been getting a lot of irate calls about these ads.
Lysol, disinfect to protect.
Canada's Pediatric Society does not endorse products.
And he says the Canadian Pediatric Society actually suggests people not use products like this.
And the official stand of Canada's paediatricians, as represented by a national society based on science, is these things are ineffective and a waste of money.
So how does Lysol make its claim? Reckitt Benckiser, the makers of the disinfectant, tell us they did their own survey. There are between 3,000 and 4,000 pediatricians in Canada, so Lysol called up 200 of them and asked, not for an official endorsement, but what, if anything, they use at home. We wanted to see the study, but they refused to tell us how they chose those 200 or even how many of those chose Lysol, just that it was the most popular.
Our #1 brand, Canadian Pediatricians.
So, what about that seal?
Look closely. It says #1 brand used by Canadian pediatricians at home. And it's like in small writing. Yeah. Okay. It's kind of ishy there.
Look closer, and you see the seal was created for Lysol. This is what the Canadian Pediatric Society logo really looks like.
The seal is just something made up by maybe the same market researchers who did the survey.
This is not the Canadian Pediatrician's seal. This is.
Well, shame on them.
I don't know what to say.
So that bothers you?
Absolutely, I'm shocked.
How many people would be looking and to see the difference? Not very honest.
What do you think of that?
Really? Yeah, it's very deceiving.
And that's not their seal.
You're kidding.
No.
That would make me not buy Lysol.
Lysol, the #1 brand used by Canadian pediatricians at home.
Really? Maybe the #1 brand used by a secret number of Canadian pediatricians at home without the approval of the Canadian Pediatric Society. So, to the makers of Lysol, you're busted. You're trying to make it seem like Canadian pediatricians have given your disinfectant the stamp of approval. Next week on Marketplace.
The label may say cod, but the lab says
consumers are definitely being ripped off.
when it comes to seafood, you may not be getting what you pay for.
I just assumed it was what it said it was.
How can consumers be sure?
What you're seeing here is a label that we need to investigate.
Get what only Marketplace will tell you every Friday night.
An all-new episode of CBC News, The Fifth Estate, starts now.